Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Once again, you're in tune to Islamic Action TV with me, Muhammad Solomon. Welcome to Gorilla Mandate Productions. Today, brothers and sisters, we have a power-packed video for you. This is one of a series of videos that we're doing, speaking to people who work in the community, who are involved in helping to shape, particularly the black community, but doing things that we believe should be honoured, should be known about, and are very, very important. So today I'm honoured to have with me Richard Butler, who is a community support worker. He's also an economic and marketing strategist, and he's got a company, I believe it's called Red Agents, right? Yes. So please check him out, check out what the brother's doing, because I'm really, really truly honoured to have him here today. Now this brother, a man of many talents, but economic upliftment, empowerment, that's one of your key points you want to push today. So tell me how you got involved in more or less what you do, because you do quite a lot of things. So
sure.
Yeah. So
I mean, it kind of started for me when I was about 15, 16 really, and I started working with my cousin doing sound system, and
back in the day,
back in the day, and carrying big boxes, and just from there I just carried on going into media, being a rapper, being a producer.
It was a rapper?
Yeah, I used to rap back in the day.
Remember Nutriment?
London
Bridge is falling down.
Okay, yeah. London Posse, them kind of things. Yeah, we was doing it back in like the late 80s. We were MCing back in the day. But what it was is that in order to work with the big record labels, it was very difficult because very costly. They're very picky about who they were working with, and a lot of people were doing it as independent. So I started to learn about business from that. Was the start of me kind of doing my own research of the business.
So kind of hands-on thing, moving those boxes around, seeing how people collect money at the gate and putting on big events or shows and everything like that.
Yeah.
Was it like little shows things, or was it like you'd hire a hall and community centre to get the sound systems?
We kind of started with house parties. We had some famous like Dulwich house parties we used to do. We used to do Peckham parties as well, and eventually we went on to do like warehouse parties.
Right.
We did some nights down in the West End as well.
Yeah.
So we worked both the inner city kind of thing, and we went to the West End as well and worked those clubs too.
Because I mean, you obviously known in the 80s, you had people, is it Soul to Soul, right? Jazzy B, those kind of groups, was it from the North London side, was it? Or those from North London?
North London side.
Yeah, but then you had, and then, I mean, was this like a breakaway from like the UK Bubblers thing, when you had like sax and all different sounds? Like, was yours more like R&B based, hip hop based, as opposed to, they were like, UK Bubblers and all that stuff?
That's right. I mean, we kind of came up from like electro. Because before there was hip hop, there was electro. And then
from the electro albums that came out.
Definitely. They used to have loads of pictures of things on there and loads of different artists on there. Yeah. Street sounds.
All the ones, man.
I was DJing, I was dicking my brother's records and playing. As you do. And then when I started working with my cousin, we started to get our own little turntables and stuff like that, and we worked with that.
Because I know a lot of people used to get like their parents' blue spot, them old-fashioned record players with the drop business, and cut it solidly in half, and then tape them together with black tape to get them. It was proper cool, wasn't it?
We didn't go back that far, but we were fortunate that we had an elder in our community. And he already had a sound system, and so he actually brought us in and had us carrying his boxes.
Oh, excellent.
And then when we had an event or someone that we had a party to do in someone's house, he would bring his sound system and put it in the house, and we would bring our decks and our records and we'd do our music.
Wow.
So big respect to him for helping us out.
It just shows how important elders are in the community, when unfortunately there doesn't seem to be a lot of them around today. A lot of people that you could have that much respect that you had back in those days.
Definitely. I mean, at the time I didn't really see the connection. I didn't really see that he's driving big sound boxes and putting them on the top of his car and driving them around, speeding around the estates.
I remember that,
and bring them for us to kind of use in our sets. You know what I mean? So, big up to him for that. And yeah, those were the days. That was the youthful days, you know.
Wow, I mean, that sounds amazing, and it takes me back as well. So moving a bit further on. So as a youth, obviously you was aware of like the clubbing and what the economic benefits of that. So how did that develop then? Because you seemed also to have acted politically as well and understood the community in a bigger context. You know what I mean? How did that come about?
Well, you know what, to be honest, that was very much years later when I was, much older. At the time, I was very much South London based.
Originally from Peckham, originally, yeah?
Yeah, I'm originally from Peckham, but, as a young person, I didn't even realise that people lived in houses. Everyone I knew lived in a housing estate.
Wow, yeah.
So, I was very kind of secluded as a young lad, but when I started to go to the clubs and stuff, I started to see more of the world. We hooked up with like Chelsea girls and stuff like that. We'd go and stay at their houses certain times, and I'm going from North Peckham Estate to mansion,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is a big mansion, and there's only like 2 bedrooms in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the front room is the size of a basketball pitch, and this is just off the King's Road. You know what I mean? So yeah, we kind of, doing that clubbing scene, you got to meet and greet and find out about different communities that are miles away from where you are and haven't lived your life, you know what I mean? And so I kept on kind of doing the music with the guys there. We started performing certain places, doing carnivals here, Reading Carnival we done, and local events in Camberwell we would do. But I think what changed it for me on the political side was when I kind of put aside the music for a while, and I left my job to go to Shoreditch.
Right.
And I went to Shoreditch in about the year 2002, and it wasn't really as big as it is now as an area to go and party and clubbing. And I started working security at the place, and so what I did is I did security in the main nightclub there, which was 93 Feet East, but I also did after parties as well. And so I got to know both sides of the area, both kind of people, the promoters and the club owners as well. And one day I met with a young lady, and she introduced me to black politics.
Okay.
And at the time, I kind of was very much oblivious to black politics and black history, and that there's a community out there, a strong community, that is involved in Africanness and kind of Afrocentric lifestyle. And so yeah.
What year are we talking about?
That must have been about 2004.
Wow.
So I spent about 18 months in Shoreditch there, and by the time I left there, I knew loads and loads.
So it's a community, like a group of people where you have like books like say Fancy Fanon or something, or the Carmichael books on Black Power, Black Economics. Was it that type of setup for you? Or she just recommended certain books you went on?
No, she took me to certain poetry events. Certain like black organisations would be there giving out books or giving out newspapers. There's a lot going around the black poetry events and stuff like that, and I met a lot of people from there. I would be invited to certain meetings, and because I was very open, I went to the meetings and heard some of the black politics of Uhuru and so forth like that. And so I signed up. And I spent like 9 months in part of the organisation, rose up the ranks to become part of the leadership of the organisation. And I set up the Economic Development Committee for one of the organisations. And really just kind of was 100% dedicated to it. I kind of left the music scene from Shoreditch because it was kind of deep in Shoreditch, where I was getting deeper and deeper involved in it. And a lot of it is about drugs when it comes to the club scene. And I wasn't really into that, but I was surrounded by it.
Right.
So this was like a breath of fresh air for me, and I had no idea about the blackness that was in London. So yeah, I just kind of delved in and reaped the benefits from it.
Right. So it's like he was absorbing all this stuff, and it was helping shape your political belief and your economic belief.
Definitely. Yeah.
So then in a way you were kind of forging the idea of black politics or black community kind of commitment and work, political, economic upliftment, working together hand in hand.
I mean, at the time, I had no idea of how significant Africa is as a continent. It had no relevance to me. It wasn't, other than...
Is that why, because of are you from Caribbean?
I'm from, my mum and dad are from Barbados.
Right.
And, years ago, I asked mum about, where we're from, and she doesn't talk about Africa. She doesn't register Africa. When I was growing up anyway, now she does.
It's unbelievable, but at that time, it's the people that the man.
Yeah, I mean, it is very believable because in the Caribbean, you through the ancestry, through enslavement, the idea of being connected to Africa is alien. It's beaten out of you.
Yes.
So obviously, to certain degrees, certain family members might mention it to you, but if the whole family doesn't mention it to you, then how are you going to know? So, I don't know where I am now with things, but...
Oh, no. So, it's interesting, it's fascinating that because obviously, it's like an epiphany for you.
Yeah.
That you actually, you began to look into your African roots, you understood that there was a connection between the Caribbean and Africa.
Yeah. Exactly.
And how that relates to what's happening in South London and how we can fuse those elements together to develop, a strong economic base for our people and empowerment. Because before we came on there, you were speaking about people owning their own properties and owning the land that they live in certain communities. Yeah. But unless we have this knowledge that you found out, for your own personal look into things, then we ourselves similarly, as a community, we're kind of not really pulling stuff that we should be doing together. Hence, I think you got your company as well,
Yeah, I mean, what it is that I see it that when Africa met the Western world, there was a clash of cultures. There's a book out there, Clash of Cultures, and it's true, it was a clash of cultures, and the African was duped, I think, for slaves to be taken away from Africa and placed in other locations, and the numbers were huge. Africans in Africa, they had no idea what was going on in America and going on in the Caribbean and South America. And so, it's only now, years later, that we are kind of getting a bigger picture to what happened and what happened to those that were left the continent. And that's how, the Caribbean culture is so different from African culture, and yet we are brothers and sisters. We are of the same family. We come from the same root.
Exactly, yeah.
But unless you acknowledge that and realize the journey that you've taken from, Africa to Barbados or Jamaica or Brazil or whatever, you wouldn't realize that where that connection is. And so that's what I learned. That's what I realized.
That's a fantastic connection you made. But what would you say to those critics, like for example, Merriweather, the boxing champion, Black American, he was asked about being African, he was asked about donating his millions or billions to African, helping Africa, and he goes, why should I help Africa? I'm not African. And he said that, at the end of the day, slavery wasn't bad about slavery, but simply because it's made Black Americans rich. So maybe we shouldn't be upset about slavery. Maybe we shouldn't, hack on about it. Maybe that's what's pulling us back all the time, that we're talking about being African. But we're not really African, because maybe we are American, maybe we are Caribbean, and we should be proud of that. And stop this identifying with a continent which is poor, poverty, famine. Every time they turn the TV on, it's an African child with fly around their mouth. Why don't you just get it together in Africa, man? What's it got to do with me and you? What's it got to do with the streets of South London? Plus, another point is, you got Nigerians, you got Ghanaians, you got Western Caribbeans. All South Londoners now, but all Londoners, or UK people. Forget all that African stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have said the same before I learned otherwise. I've been to Africa, so I know that Africa is not poor and people aren't walking around with flies around their mouth. Africa is a very got such great potential. The land is virgin land. It's not land that we've got out here where when you're walking on the street, all you see is...
But there's so much corruption in Africa. There's so much corruption. Why should we even waste our time?
There's so corrupt.
We see all the time. We see Obacha, all these different people from Nigeria, taking money, stealing it from the people, no infrastructure. You know, the IMF is sick to back teeth with all these African dictators stealing and robbing the country blind and sending it all to Europe. Why should we in South London have any connection to them whatsoever?
But then look at the British government at the moment and you see how much of them are involved in paedophilia. And the people have known about it for years, but they're not saying anything.
But paedophilia is not connected to corruption on a massive scale.
It is corruption. Because the state knows that these individuals are involved in illegal acts with children, and they've chosen to keep a blind eye to it. It's very corrupt. It's institutionally corrupt that you're allowing these young children to be treated in this way.
But do you honestly believe what you just said, though? With all due respect, do you honestly believe that you can compare paedophilia with a corrupt regime in Africa somewhere where, for example, the Congo, you can fit all of half of Western Europe into the Congo, but we know since independence these countries have not been able to get it together. Same thing in the Caribbean. I mean, now Jamaica, this government has to build a prison for them. I mean, are they that incapable? And how does that make a youth of 15, 16 who's in somewhere like in Peckham Estate really feel, oh well, Richard's got a point, I really need to connect to these people? But it's going to find a
You have to also understand that the corrupt countries in the Caribbean, in Africa.
So you admit they're corrupt, yeah?
There are corruption.
Okay,
there is
so
definitely.
You can agree that they're corrupt.
Yes, they are corrupt. They are corrupt, but you see a lot of them are being put there by the Western powers.
Oh, so where do we always go with this argument that it's always somebody else? When are we going to take responsibility, Richard, for our own issues that we've got? How are we going to keep on harking back? Oh, it's somebody else. When are we going to be men and stand up for ourselves?
Well, you know what? We are standing up for ourselves, but we have to stand up as individuals and as a group as well. Do you know what I'm saying? It's down to you or people watching now to go over there and do something in the country and build up the country by your own.
But right until then, we need to feed people here, we need to clothe them here, we need to keep community going. Why are we always running away from in England? Why are we always running away from responsibility and finding excuses everywhere else? What are you going to say to the young 15, 17-year-old black man in South London who's in a gang, wants to get out of the gang, wants to help his community? What are you going to say to the young girl who's probably having to perform all type of debaucherous acts for men, for young boys? What's your message for youth of today? Rather than, let's look at everybody else's problems and forget their own. What is your message for them?
Well, for the youth of today, I would say that, you need to surround yourself with progressive people. You need to tap into people in your community who you can admire and look up to, who are actually doing the great things, you know what I'm saying? And there's an abundance of opportunity here. There's an abundance, but you need to be directed to that. And sometimes you're not going to get that direction from your family. You're not going to get that from your school either. You have to kind of go outside the box. The same way that I went to my cousin showed me certain things that I didn't know about. His neighbour, who was a sound man, showed him certain things about how to run a sound. Right. Now you can go to a drug dealer and they'll show you things about drugs. You can go to a pimp, they'll show you things about sex. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you want to go to somebody and talk to them, deal with them on a business level, on an economics level, or in a job level, and go to someone with a job and say, can you show me what you know?
But you can equally argue that if someone's selling drugs, they know to chop up the different drugs in like a quart or whatever, chop it or break it up. That's economics to some degree. Just that maybe economically it's not being put into a community sense, but that drug dealer is still calculating on making money.
That's true, and I'm not denying that. And at the end of the day, you got to decide which path you're going to take. I can't tell them which path to take. They have to decide which path they want to take. But you've got to follow it and connect with people who have taken that step before you, or you can just find your own path. It's either up to you. But at the end of the day, you've got the power to actually make that decision for yourself. I can't tell you. You have to decide. You know what I'm saying? But I do know that there's people out there somewhere, somehow, who can connect you to the right knowledge and to the right wisdom. But truly, it's within yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to follow your own path.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Know thyself, and the power is in your hands, and it's up to you.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Well, we've come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Richard. If you could, before we go, if you could just quickly touch on what your company, just to get that out there to the people watching.
My company's called Red Agents. We do digital marketing, which is like building mobile websites. We also do SEO, search engine optimization. We deal with photography and video production. You can find my company on redagents.com. My target market is, I'm looking at black leaders, because I believe that black leaders are looking for a reliable supplier of business advice and consultancy and business resources. And I hope that once we connect and we partner together, that I can take your company or organization into profitability, and we can continue to work so we can make our millions and our billions ourselves.
Well, on that note, what can I say? But thank you so much for coming in, sitting in the hot seat today. I thought you did a brilliant job, and we hope to work with you in the future. For now, we'll be signing off. We'd like to thank you for watching this week's show. Please subscribe. I think it's down there somewhere, isn't it? I can't remember where it is, but it's down there somewhere. To Islamic Action TV. And until we meet again, as I greet you in peace, and from myself and Richard here, we leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and take care of yourself.
Peace.
Peace.